to another episode of On the Couch with Lisa B. We're sitting here today with Senator Jonathan Zacharia, who is running for District 6 in Sacramento, California. And we are here in his beautiful house, in his living room, just enjoying the anointed atmosphere. How are you today, Jonathan?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
You haven't been officially elected yet, but we know that you are. So we might as well just go ahead and speak it into existence because you're a fabulous man.
Thank you.
I love what you want to do. You're a family man and you're a man of God and a man of integrity. That's what I'm talking about. Forget about the political stuff. The man is a man of integrity and he's trying to do a new thing here. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you want to do.
Okay. Well, I'm a little bit about me. I pastor a church in Davis.
Yes.
And I've been a pastor there for 23 years. Coming up in September, it'll be 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of college students. Davis is a college town, so I've been talking to a lot of college students for the majority of my ministry. Mm-hmm. I come from a missionary family. My parents are Greek immigrants from Greece.
Yes.
They became citizens in the late 60s, like 69.
Mm-hmm.
We went back to Greece as missionaries. They went back to their own country as missionaries. Mm-hmm. And we're spreading the gospel to the Greek people, telling Greek people that God loves them. And so I got to do a lot of growing up years in Greece too. So I was born in San Francisco, grew up in Oakland till I was almost five. Then I went to Greece, then I came back to the Sacramento area, then I went back to Greece. Then I came back, I went to college, and
let me ask you a little bit about that, because I saw that. I was really impressed. Now, you grew up in the church.
Yes.
So you've done a lot of missionary work. I saw that you've been to Spain, Portugal, France, Ireland, Germany, Belgium, Holland, Romania, Yugoslavia, Hungary, Italy, Kosovo, I can never say that. What is that?
Which one is that?
Cyprus.
Cyprus.
See, I can't get it together.
That's
Cyprus.
all right. Cyprus, yeah, that's Cyprus.
Greece, Mexico, and Brazil. So the man has been really out on the battlefield trying to get the word out about God, and this is his first time trying to go into the political arena. So let's support him. So tell us about the missionary work overseas.
Missionary work overseas for many years and in many ways. Going to places that are impoverished, like with lack of shelter, lack of food, lack of medical care. For instance, countries like Brazil, areas in Mexico.
Yes.
And then also bringing the gospel to places that are apparently affluent, but have a spiritual poverty, a soul poverty. Many countries in Europe are really suffering soul poverty. Young people who don't have a direction, and older folks who've kind of lost their way, and just there's a lot of darkness in the world, and sometimes it's covered or sheltered by affluence. It looks really good on the outside, and people's souls are empty.
Yeah.
So basically, the kind of missionary work that excites my soul is to combine telling people that God loves them and forgives them, along with felt needs. And a lot of times, churches prefer one or the other. Like some churches go really with felt needs. They're very, very quiet about the gospel. Others are very, strong about God loves you, but not very good on the felt needs. I think they need to be combined.
Absolutely.
And that too, that's also, I believe, transitioning to, because a lot of people are asking me, well, you're in ministry, why would you want to transition to politics? It's almost...
I was going to ask you that.
See there, I'm asking my own questions right now. Oh, and by the way, the couch competition, can I also submit a couch?
Yes, you can.
Would that be right?
Everybody can submit a couch. I need a new one. My old one fell apart.
Well, that is good. But anyway, so going into government,
yes,
I really believe, I mean this with all my heart, I think legislators need to bring love back into creating legislation. So what we have a huge tug of war. One party says that they're really for the people. The other, and then that party says about the other, you're evil and terrible. Right. The other party says, we're for the people, and then they talk about the other party and they say, you're evil and terrible. And when legislation is being made, a lot of legislation is feel-good, but really destroys people. And a lot of other legislation seems to be logical, but still runs over people. So we have to bring love back to creating legislation. We need to be listening to what the problems are. The best solutions, as I've been campaigning, the solutions are right in the community.
All the time.
The community has them. I stood in a laundromat and I talked to a lady who's been in the Elk Grove area, who's been in the neighborhood forever. She was, and I told her I was running. She said, "Can I give you a few?" And I'm like, "Yes." For 20 minutes, she's peppering me with answers. Answers. Bam, 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 bam. In the summertime, could our kids have a drum line? Because there is a person in our community that knows how to do drum lines. Could you fund, if you're elected, could you fund a camp that just helps our city get all the kids to go to drum camp? I've never thought of drum camp. I've thought of soccer. I've thought, people do softball, but drums or drum camp or music. But she already knows there's a person in the community that can do this. Solutions are right there.
And you know what the funny thing is? And I found this out through Cast Down Imagination TV, my internet station, is that people are willing to come out and volunteer if the opportunity presents itself.
Yes, and then it doesn't take a lot of money to help things happen. So there can be cooperation between government and local incentive, but that local incentive must not exclude church-driven efforts or community-driven efforts or business-driven efforts. We can't say, well, if businesses are involved, government can do nothing. Yeah, the answers are in the community. The answers are with the people. And people who are in government have to begin to not just listen to the voters before the election, but more importantly, listen to them after the election. If a solution if there's a problem that needs solution, you have to talk to where the problem is and ask questions. Now, some people are just going to complain the daylights. That's all they do. They love to complain. But so many people have solutions, and we have to be creative at how we come about solving problems. And that has to be the goal. The goal of government is not to meddle or interfere or run everybody's life. I believe that government should come in when there's trouble, and when things are going well, just let them go. Continue to encourage them.
I believe that too, and for a long time I was a Democrat, and then this thing came up and I said, you know what? Things are just not going the way I thought they were going to go. So I turned over and became an independent. Because I decided what I needed to do was research. I wanted to be free to research people and see what they were doing and see where their heart was for the community and also morally. Because I think that sometimes people think because you're in politics that you can't be moral.
Well, here's my other thing. I tell people, don't switch parties, but influence your party in what you believe. For instance, the Democrat Party, I don't have a problem with basic principles that might be seen as liberal principles when it comes to helping communities or helping people and all that. But it's the implementation I'm having a serious problem with. There's so many people who have the title Democrat and say I care for the people and do the exact opposite. Jesus said that you know the tree by its fruit. So
absolutely.
If a tree's calling itself a pear tree and it's putting out charcoal, it's like, wait a minute. Hold on, you said you're a pear tree, but what are you putting out? You say you're a strawberry plant and you're putting out bricks. That's a brick factory. It's not a strawberry tree.
Right.
If you vote for a strawberry bush and you're getting bricks, you stop believing the title and you start believing the works.
Okay.
And what we have right now in our government, on both sides of the aisle, in Sacramento in particular, I'm running as a Republican. But I am not happy with the way my party has been operating. I'm hoping to define my party. I'm hoping that my candidacy, and then if I'm elected with the people's support, if I'm elected, I want to be able to define my party. I want to be able to define my state. The state of California is a beautiful state. We have beautiful people here. We have people that are smart and willing and motivated. And so much of what our legislature is doing, they keep saying, vote for us, we're for you. And all they do every year is they're more and more disconnected from the needs of the people, from the solutions that people need. And they keep saying, give us more time, give us more money, and we'll solve it. But if you look at the works, it's getting worse and worse. And that's what has to change. We have to change that whole idea of, vote for me because of my title.
Absolutely.
My title makes me right, and their title makes them wrong.
Right.
Well, I say, and you talk about moral leadership.
Right.
Morality, moral leadership is in the result. In government, moral leadership is you promise something, you follow through and do it.
Absolutely. You can't say one thing to get elected, and then once you're in there,
Yes.
then you do a total different thing. Then you're not a servant of the people
So, for
at
instance,
that point.
Prop 30 passed 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The promise was that those who were behind it kept saying education's getting the money. But the law was written that the general fund gets the money. But I still saw the politicians from the party that I'm not a part of who got reelected and had a supermajority. They got the tax, and I thought, okay, most of the people I voted against Prop 30, which makes me instantly evil. But I voted against it because I knew that the law was written to go to the general fund, not to schools. So, but California spoke, we passed Prop 30, we're all paying the tax.
See, and that's another thing. Let me say that.
Yeah.
People, you have to educate yourself when bills come up,
Yes.
because what happens is you hear about the surface, because I didn't know about the general fund either.
Right.
You hear about the surface of a bill and the good part of it, but unless you really go online and research and find out what that bill is really about and where the money is actually going to go and how much money is going to actually go to the children or how much is going to a person who's overseeing the fund or whatever, you actually don't know what you're voting on.
Right. So what politicians have become experts at is that they give it a great title, they poll enough to know what the problem is, and they know how to language it to get the money or to get to the support. And then they never follow through. They have not been following through. The amount of money we're giving to our educational system in California is more than enough to solve our education problems. We can educate our kids with the money that's coming. It is not a money problem anymore. The problems are, first of all, we raise a tax, Prop 30 passes. 2 years later, our schools are still suffering. They're still falling apart.
Yes.
They're doing piecemeal things. They said that Prop 30 would fully fund education. All of our things would turn around.
That's what
We're
it
2 years
said.
later. Where are the music programs? Where are the clean bathrooms? Where are the sports programs? How are they restored? Where are the campus renovations? Where are the bus programs? How many communities now in California don't have buses going to school anymore? Natomas has suspended.
So is Fairfield.
So where are all these programs that are supposed to be restored if we pass 30? The whole state, all of us said, we will pay more to fix our schools. And the politicians now are going to come back and they're going to say, we need more money and we need more time. And they leave it broken to motivate us. How many of us don't love our children or don't want our kids to get educated? They're going to keep pushing that leverage. Do you want your kids to be educated? Do you want your kids to be educated? Vote for us again. Those other people are evil. Vote for us again. They're evil. Remember, they're evil because they have an R next to it. They're evil. Well, I say, you know what? If you have a D next to your name and you don't do the job, you need to get out. You need to be fired or dired. And get somebody else in. Independent, libertarian, whatever. If you like what is being said, vote for that person. But if they don't produce, fire them.
That's the thing. People need to be fired when you vote them into office and they do something different. They need to go.
Today, a new report came out today. Today, there was an audit done on our state finances. The state treasurer has made over $31 billion in errors in his bookkeeping in the last year. $31 billion. It is more than the combined gross national product of Iceland and Jamaica in accounting errors.
Wow.
Which means that our state, and then the state.
But I'm sure he has to have someone who looks over his work.
There are thousands of people working
Right.
in the Treasury. The audit came through and said, you have misrecorded or misapplied. There are $31 billion worth of mistakes made in our state books. That's just in accounting. The treasurer comes out and says, not $1 in California has been affected, which might be a fact technically. But here's what we don't know. Let's just say you're balancing your checkbook.
Right.
Okay? And let's say I'm balancing $1,000 in my checkbook. If I'm off by $310
Right.
in my accounting,
I'm affected.
am I going to make some mistakes?
Yeah.
Okay, out of 1,000, right? So our state budget, actually our total budget annually, what the state spends is close to $200 billion. Did you know that? We spent $200 billion and we still have deficit.
$200 billion.
$200 billion. But the accounting last year was off by $31 billion in 1 year, the accounting. Which means we don't know what's going on with our own money. We have no clue. We are floating, the taxpayers are sending money and the state is just going along going, we don't really know, we don't even know where it is.
So how do you solve that?
The auditors are still doing their job. Today, the audit came out and said, there are these mistakes. We can add to the audit. Basically, if I'm elected, I'm going to find other senators and we're going to call for audits for the whole state budget, all of it. Because we need a picture as to where we're at. It's almost, again, for us, the way that we would work. You go to the bank and you say, excuse me, can you tell me what I have in my account? Clear.
Yes.
We need to get an accountability. Figure out, where are we? Take a snapshot, a picture. Where are we right now? Because the state is leaking. The state budget is like a bucket full of holes. It's leaking everywhere. And the only solution we keep saying is put water in it. Just keep putting water in it.
You know, I understand because I'm a business owner here in California, and because the bucket is leaking so badly, I can barely afford to do business here.
Correct. And what you just said is true. A lot of people say, what's the big deal? The state's running a deficit. Why does that affect me? Well, it affects us on every level. Getting short-term business, you just talk about business. Getting short-term business loans in California, harder and harder to do.
Absolutely.
You have to actually have money to borrow money. How does
Right.
that make any sense? If you're going to start a small business, you need short-term investment capital. Many times it's a loan. You get a loan to start your business.
Right.
When you start your business, you should sit with a banker and say, here's my plan. The banker needs to say, cool, it looks like you're going to make a profit, we'll lend you the money.
Right.
Now, they don't look at your business plan, they say, oh, you want to borrow money? Do you have money? It's like,
Right.
how are businesses going to do that? And you might say, we shouldn't live on any debt, there should be no debt. I don't believe in toxic debt. But for an economy to grow, you need to be able to have money that is borrowable, available cash to lend, and you need to have good loans being taken. So small businesses come in and they say, hey, I have an idea. I need some capital to start my business. This is my plan to pay you back.
Right.
That's the basis upon which loans should be made. That's how entrepreneurs get into business, get into markets, and then you turn around, and you're taking risks also, the business person's taking risks. We need to create an environment to where small businesses are able to take a risk and have the capital, the money, to start. And then get going. Once you get going, you have customers, you have a product, you have a service, whatever you do, and then you get your business going. Well, California doesn't have that anymore.
Has it ever had it?
It used to have it. In the construction industry, there used to be, getting small business loans was the way that construction companies work, because basically you get a loan to build something, then when you sell it, you get the money back, you pay
Right.
a loan. Well, that's going away. Only the humongous businesses are able to do that already have a chunk of capital as collateral to take loans, but it's muscling out the small guy. So
Right.
this is what I'm telling you. The other party that has a D next to it says, we're for the small guy. Practically, how are you for the small guy when there are no loans for small businesses anymore? And that's just one. I'm bringing one example. The fees, the regulations. You know, you're starting a small business, you have to be compliant on fire code, you have to be compliant on exits, you have to be compliant on UV glass, on the right kind of floor, and every time you're paying a fee for signage. You know, it goes on and on and on.
But it's extremely, because I know from my business, even the worker comp, and I've never had an accident, is $30 out of every $100.
Yes, that's 30%.
Yes.
For people who are still
Yes, it's extremely high, and you have to have it.
and see, that's just one of the things you have to face as
Liability
Yes.
insurance. I mean, everything you can't. Look.
How are California businesses going to hire anyone when there is no profit in the business?
You can't.
You can't. All of our small businesses in California are shrinking. You probably know this if you're watching this. If you have a small business, it's shrunk down to your immediate family and people who can work for free.
The grandbabies. The grandbabies at the counter.
That's true. Which is nothing wrong.
But you know,
but you have to be
it's
able
all
to
right.
pay your grandbabies.
Yes, but you know what? It's all right if you want to do it that way.
Sure.
But you shouldn't have to be forced
Yes.
to do it that way.
And I'm all into family businesses. They should be there.
Right.
But the family should be making a profit.
Right, and they should be able to help people in the community come into the business and give them a job if they
Absolutely. If they're
Yes.
worthy and you say, hey, I'd like to sell this good or I'd like to sell this product. How are we going to expand our economy if every business has circled the wagons, if you will, defending itself from the next government requirement, from the next government fee, from the next government encumbrance? So after a while, and here's the other thing. This is not a minority issue. I keep saying, I'm an extreme minority, by the way. I'm a Greek American, very, very small minority. We have to stop this whole, we have to cater to minority or majority. When the economy is bad for the middle class, or the economy is bad, if you will, for the poor, it's bad for all the poor.
It's bad for
It's
all
not.
the poor.
It doesn't sit there going. We don't live. Thank God, we don't live in a country anymore where. Is there still racism in pockets, in people's attitudes? Yes, but America is the most opportune country to operate in, except now we think what we're calling resistance because of minority issues is actually a humongous general problem in California. It affects everybody. We run a winter shelter this last winter. We ran a winter shelter at our church. The racial mix was majority. I'm not trying to say this to make a racial point, but if you want to look,
these things need to be talked about because I have a couple of questions I was going to talk to you about.
if you want to know, white people are homeless.
Yeah,
White people-
everybody's homeless right about now.
And there's some darker skinned people that are homeless, but the family we sheltered, we had a full family that was living in a car, white. So how can you turn around then and say this is a minority problem? This is a California problem.
Well, in Fairfield, there's Mexican,
Everything,
Asian,
yes.
Black, and all nationalities. You see homeless people. When I first moved there, you didn't see it as much, but it's very prevalent now. And also, I wanted to ask you about there's a lot of inner city concerns. It's really bad right now.
Yes, it is.
The violence is bad. The educational system, when they do get money, someone always embezzles it.
Yes.
I mean, it's not because they don't get the money.
No.
They get the money. But then you turn around a year later, you find out somebody embezzled the money from the children. What safeguards can be put in place to protect people?
There has to be enforcement. When public money is misused, people need to go to jail.
They do.
Period. We need to start, with all due respect, we put kids that are carrying marijuana into jail. We need to put anybody who's in the political pipeline for money that is corrupted into jail. Not
Yes.
years later, it is a crime against society, period. It is a crime against our children. I keep telling people, if I was on the streets 14 hours a day, I had no job as a 50-year-old, not an 18-year-old, as a 50-year-old. I'm on the streets 14, 18 hours a day, have nothing to do. And I'm hanging out with other 50-year-olds, and we have nothing to do. We're going to get in trouble.
You're going to get in trouble.
We turn to our kids and we're like, why are these inner city kids getting in trouble? We need another program. We don't need another program. We don't need legislation. What we need is an economy, entry-level jobs. Okay? We need entry-level jobs now in California. The suggestion is let's take the minimum wage to like $24. That'll solve the problem. No, it won't. Because then a job at Burger King, minimum entry-level job will be $24 an hour. There'll be college graduates wanting those jobs. Where's the entry-level job anymore in California?
But then, not only that, but people don't understand is that if the minimum wage goes up to $24 an hour, then the price of everything goes up too.
And hiring goes down.
Right, because what happens is And you still can't afford it because now your PG&E, instead of being $150, is now $750. So you might be making $24 an hour, but all your bills have gone up because all the companies see that you're making more money.
Yes.
Because if that was the case, in 1924 or whatever, how much ever they were making now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it would make. And the burger at Burger King, if you're getting $24 an hour, the burger at Burger King, you're no longer going to have a $6 burger. You're going to have like a $15 and $15.99 entry level burger to pay for the
Right,
for the
but
24.
that's how it goes. But
Yeah.
people don't understand
We're not
that.
connecting the dots. And again,
Exactly.
this is not about telling. If I were to say this, when I say this, the people that are opposing me will instantly call me racist. They'll call me racist.
That's simple economics.
It's economics.
Right.
The skin color is not what is driving the problems in California, but they want to make it that. Entry into university, that's a color problem. It's not a color problem. I was asked about SCA 5, that they want to do a constitutional amendment to reverse basically a law that was passed that basically says that students should not be discriminated in any way or preferred by the color of their skin. People are all up in arms because there are certain minority groups that are not as much represented in college. And then they say, what we need to do is admit more by number. And this is almost touching the third rail. So I was asked the question, what do you think on SCA 5? You know, are you for or against minorities? I said, I want to fix K through 12 education.
That's what I was going to say. You know what I was going to say? It's not about being for or against anything. I grew up in East Oakland. And my children went to school. Well, my daughter was homeschooled halfway through because I just got tired of the public school system at that point. But my son graduated from Oakland Tech. And for a month I took off from my job because I just wanted to see what really went on in his school on a daily basis. You know? First, let me say, this is why I took off. They sent a report card home saying that he had gotten a C in math. And I couldn't understand it because he was taking college classes at the same time.
Right.
And in his trig class in college, okay, he got an A.
So trig A in college and then C in math in high school.
Yeah, okay, so I went to the school. And I'm looking at it, and the teacher had never even seen him because he was cutting the class. But he had the C.
He had a C, but he never showed up.
Yeah, that's my phone, you guys. I forgot to turn off my phone. I got mail. But he had never shown up, and the teacher gave him a C. And I was so upset at the teacher. Instead of giving him an F,
If you hadn't followed up, you never would have known that he never was in class.
Right.
Because he got a C.
Right, because I was upset because he got the C. I'm like, how is this even possible?
Well, God bless you for caring. No, but God bless you for caring for a C.
Right.
You know, if you hadn't followed up, you're like, C, that's not my son.
Right, see?
But your son wasn't even in class. But why did they give him a C?
The teacher could never explain it to me. So then I took off,
Because performance for a teacher doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter.
You're just pushing them through.
It just pushed him through. And then on top of it, come to find out, in another class he had, it was his English class, which you had to be proficient in English in order to get a diploma. They had they didn't even have a permanent teacher in the class. They had a substitute every week. So how do you expect for the children to be able to pass the proficiency test, or what is it, the CHASE, the California Highway, you know, the exit exam. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, the exit exam. How can a child pass the test when they don't even have a teacher to teach them? And then what if they don't have a parent at home that's able to teach them?
That doesn't show up and say, why did my child get a C?
But what if the parent can't even help them at home?
Exactly. And then they graduate high school, okay?
No, they can't graduate because they can't pass the test.
So, but many times, there's even doctoring of tests. There's all kinds of stuff going on. They just they push them through. A child graduates as a senior, and top 9%, another law in California, top 9% of every high school in California is eligible for those graduates to go to a UC school. UC campuses are all up and down California. they get to college and they can't read and they can't write and they can't do math. Okay, so I pastor a church at UC Davis. UC Davis is an incredibly competitive campus because they're teaching people how to be doctors, how to be farmers, how to be lawyers, right? So you need an education.
You have to have
these children that, no, again, I mean no disrespect, but how is an Oakland graduating, a child graduating from high school in Oakland, where this underperformance is happening, K through 12,
right?
How are they going to compete on that campus? It's
can't.
Not a skin problem. It offends me that you would say that children who have a darker skin need special treatment. No, they need the same amount, the same level of education, K through 12.
Yes,
they're not dumb children. Are they dumb children? Are they less bright? What is the problem? For me, that is racism.
Now, that's what's called getting to the root of a problem.
That's right.
But see, no one, that's what I'm saying. You have to vote for this man. No one wants to get to roots of the problem. They want the surface, the easy fix, but it's not even a fix.
No, it is. It's holding to our commitments. The California Constitution requires that the state educate children.
Yes.
The reason we put it in our Constitution was so that we would train our children to be responsible citizens. We've taken the tool that's supposed to shape our kids into becoming responsible citizens and turned it into their worst anchor. We tie them to an anchor and we say, go and perform in life. It's not, and the other aspect, some kids are made for college. Other kids are made for vocational training.
Absolutely.
There are kids that are good at welding, at building, at carving, at arrangements, at practical jobs. Where's the training going on now in high schools? We used to have it.
They don't exist
No,
anymore.
because we had to cut the budget. So then we're funneling kids. There's a kid that's a great mechanic, never made for college. And we say, the only way for you to get ahead is to go to college. So they go to college and flunk out. Then what have we told them? You're good for nothing. Their skill level, though, in high school, we should be finding out high school should be a place where we give children an opportunity to show what are you good at?
Your gifts.
How about musicians? Do we need musicians at all?
I think so.
Are there any kids growing up right now that their core thing is music? So, you know what I mean? So where do we find these kids? How do we encourage these kids to be musicians in high school? So we take them from 5 to 18.
If you don't have money for private lessons, it's over.
Exactly. If that child doesn't get, and now all the support that's happening with kids is happening at the home level, and God bless every one of you that's supporting your children, keep doing it. But do not expect the state to replace the parental role. But that's really what politicians keep telling you to do. They say, vote for me, I'll be your child's parent. Shame on them. Shame on them. The state is nobody's parent. No state program will ever care for your kids like you care for your kids. And for us to abdicate responsibility, we give up our responsibilities and we say, the schools have to shape our kids, the school has to feed our kid, the school has to discipline our kid, the school has to give morality to our kid. Now, God help us, the school has to define sexuality to our kids. We've completely lost our ability to figure out what it's all about. And because we abdicate, we give it up. We give it up. We give it up because they promise. Give it to us, we'll fix it. Give it to us, we'll fix it. Have they fixed? Have they done anything? They're making promises they can't keep, and the promises they should keep, they're not keeping.
Right.
It's time to fire them. They need to go. And not only do they need to go so that the problem gets out of the way, but if you keep electing them, you're sending a message of, oh, we want more. Just give us more.
And then the other thing is, it was terribly flawed, as I did a paper on this in college, was that I found out that the schools that do underachieve because they don't have the teachers or they don't have the resources or whatever they have to bring the level of education up, they don't get funded.
No.
Because the system is in place that unless the children perform at a certain level and test at a certain level, those schools are the schools that get money. But if the children do not test at a certain level, then they don't get the money, which is ridiculous because those are the schools that need the extra attention.
And you know what the other part there is? The schools that are underperforming also need to have a review of who's teaching there.
Come on, yes.
Because we have teachers that are totally, they're showing up, they're getting a paycheck, and they're going home.
Oh my God, stop playing. I sat in the classroom one time and the teacher was reading the newspaper.
Well, at least
There's other kids, there was some kids in the corner shooting dice. I kid you not.
Hey, they're making money.
In the classroom, they were shooting, yes. I had to stand up in the classroom and tell the kids to go back to their seats.
You're a visitor.
I'm a visitor. I told them, I know your mother. Okay? And I know your mother because we go to church together.
That's right. What
Okay, I'm going to tell your mother. You know
and
what I'm
but
saying?
the teacher's still reading the paper.
The teacher was still reading the paper, and I'm like, really?
Now, I want to make an example right now. Does it matter? Again, I don't mean to offend anyone. Does it matter what color skin the teacher has?
No.
Okay.
It does. The teacher don't care.
Should that teacher be fired?
I thought so.
Absolutely. So it becomes, because I'm only saying this because the next thing would be, oh, you're just, again, racist.
But see, then how many parents can really take off
And check it.
and see, because a lot of people I know are single parent households.
Right.
They cannot afford. You know, only time they can go to school is when somebody's suspended or something like that happens, but they don't have the time. You know what I'm saying?
When it comes to our schools, it's like this. We need to send our kids to school and expect them to do schooling. Educate our kids. It's almost like taking your car to a garage, right? You take your car to a garage, you say, I want an oil change. You expect an oil change to happen. If you come back and they've painted your car a different color, like, wait a minute. And then they say, hey, we did work. You say, I didn't ask for a paint job. I asked for an oil change. Oh, no. We think you needed a paint job. I came for an oil change. No, and an oil change was, $23.99 with a coupon. The paint job is going to cost $1,200. They go, wait a minute. Yeah. Why are you giving, what? This establishment is supposed to do what I asked it to do, what I'm expecting it to do.
What you're paying it to do.
Our schools are doing everything but educating kids.
Right.
And they're doing it in a sloppy way. They're doing it to make money, by and large. And there are teachers that are great that are suffering. That are suffering because they're trying to teach in environments where they have no ability to bring discipline to a classroom, no ability to bring funding that they need to teach. We've heard the horror stories about teachers bringing in their own paper and their own pencils just to...
That's crazy.
It's still happening. It's been happening for over a decade, and we keep thinking, Prop 30 passed, really, and our teachers are still...
Where's the paper?
Where's the paper? Where's the pencil? Exactly. After a while, you have to stop and say, enough. Enough. You are lying.
You are lying.
They're lying.
Yeah.
And you can't say that in the legislature anymore, by the way. You know that when you debate...
You can tell me I can say it.
I know, no, but when you tell another legislator, you cannot say, sir, you're lying. It's not allowed because House rules.
Oh, really?
Wait a minute. If you say you're going to have money to fund the schools because our teachers don't have paper and don't have pencils, and they keep having to buy paper and buy pencils, you just lied.
Yeah, you just lied. So we're getting to the point we're going to have to wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
But I want to. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
Vote. We need to vote. Vote if you're in whatever county you're in, whatever city you're in. Read what's going on. And if there's an incumbent politician, a politician who's asking for re-election, look at their record.
Yes.
What did they do or didn't do? And compare it to what they promised. And I know it takes a little time. You got to do some homework. Talk to other people. Have some conversation. This is very important that we vote intelligently. We vote having been informed. And then I would also suggest, if you don't like the incumbent, the one that's coming back in, find an alternative. Even if the other person is untested or might not, know everything, because that's usually what they're told, is that, people don't have experience, or, they can't do it because they don't have experience, or whatever. Send a message to the people who are doing wrong that we fire you, and we're going to try somebody else, and then watch that next person. We are ultimately responsible for the mess. The voters are. Don't stay away from the polls. Vote for people who are keeping their promises. Re-elect people who keep their promises. If they're doing well, re-elect them. That's the other thing. You don't kick everybody out.
Yes.
If people are doing a good job, keep them. If they're doing a bad job, fire them. And then vote. Vote. There's such an apathy. Right now we're expecting in this primary, we are not even going to get to 25% of eligible voters to vote in the Sacramento area. It might even be a lot less. It might be
That's a shame.
under 20. The more we do that, what we're doing is the problem that is going on, we're assisting it by being absent. We need to be active. If you're in the Sacramento area and watching this might happen after the primary.
No, it's going to go on tomorrow.
Okay, well, the primary is happening on Tuesday. So if you're in the Sacramento area, consider voting for me. And look at the opponents that are running, that I'm running against, see their record. As far as I'm concerned, they're part of the problem, and that's the reason I'm running. Consider voting for me. Vote for other people who are running after you do your homework on them, and I appreciate your vote. And the other thing I keep saying to the voters is, lend me your vote. I don't own your vote. You don't serve me. If I make it to that office, I serve you. And I serve you by keeping promises. And I'm saying right now, the first thing we're going to do, like I keep telling everybody, is we're going to call for an audit of all of the auditing reports for California, so we know what's going on and where the money's going away. And then when there's waste and fraud, if the legislature, because we're not the majority yet, our party isn't, we're a minority, I'm going to, every week I'm going to make reports on where I see corruption and where I see waste. And I'm going to put it out in fact, I'll invite you if you'd like, and we can do reports, and I'll keep telling you. And you can
post it right there on Cast Down.
I'll post it, but I also, we need to get out on video and radio. I'm going to try and be on mass media and do a report every week and say, here, we found another, very quickly wrapping it up, there's a college university, I believe it's called Q, just outside of Davis. It was organized in 74, 75. It operated for a year or two and then it closed. It was supposed to be for Native American studies.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Right, this is why you never heard of it. It opened with a campus, and it opened as a campus, then it closed, and it's still getting about $250,000 a year. Since the mid-70s.
But it's not open anymore.
It's not open. It's barricaded.
Where does the money go to?
To the board.
What board?
They have a board.
How is it? What? Okay.
It's right here. It's going into somebody's right here. In somebody's pocket.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm speechless. I'm never speechless.
In fact,
You have made Lisa speechless. But okay, they haven't opened since the 70s. Why do they have a board?
Well,
how come they're not in jail? Exactly. How come they don't have to pay the money back?
Right. But it's part of our state budget. This is happening thousands of times in the state budget. And you might say, $250,000, what's the big deal? Well, you multiply that by 1,000.
That could have almost housed all the homeless people.
Yes. But by the way, the campus is sitting just outside of Davis, and it's painted pink. And what I don't understand is Native American, the building, if you're going to do like Native American studies, the architecture,
that's like the cancer sign or something.
Yeah, the architecture is so not Native American. It was a scam when it started, and it continues to be a scam, and no one in the state government says, enough, we stop that, we're putting it away. We have thousands of programs in California that get funded.
I got to ask you this, because, see, I'm messed up. What? Do they file taxes?
I have no, I could research it some more, but it was some fellow professors of
emeritus. I think this might be on my next story.
I can tell you where the campus is. You can go videotape.
I gotta go look at it.
It has 2 guard dogs, so if you come up to the gate, be careful because the dogs will come.
I guess so. They gotta guard the money.
Yeah, they got. Listen, let me tell you something. If you're on that board, right, and nobody's stopping the paychecks, and this is happening in California all the time, you're on that board, you're getting a paycheck every year, are you going to whistleblow on yourself? I'm getting a paycheck, and then you say, I'm part of an institution that helps Native American studies. And you're not telling anyone that the school hasn't operated since the mid-70s.
Everybody go enroll. You pay for it.
You can't enroll. It's not an operating school.
I know, it's making a joke.
I know.
Just dry.
We should all show up and say, I want to go to college here.
And then I want to major. Something. For free, it's been paid for.
And it's happening. See, my guess is it's happening thousands of times. I've talked to legislators. There's a legislator named Shannon Grove. She has a poster on her door. She was almost censured for it by the head of the assembly. And it exposes the redundancies in just state programs. It is a poster almost 5 feet tall with print about this big of redundant California state programs that can all go away.
That are still getting money.
Nobody would miss it. Yes, 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 yes. But then we don't have enough money to get buses operating again. Oh, and the other thing with the buses, we have buses, but we fall short of paying what union driver labor rates are to drive those buses.
Yes.
If we had private companies driving them, they'd be operating all up and down California because they would bid and they would drive our kids for less money, for the money we have available, and we would have bus programs. But the law doesn't allow, because it's a union driver and it's a state bus, and they've created a law that says only union drivers drive state buses. So our kids have to walk to school, or I don't know if we have schools here in Natomas where there's a traffic jam every morning. Cars are all over the place trying to bring their kids to school. Kids are walking and biking to school and all that. No bus program because we don't have enough money to pay the insiders.
But let me ask you something. Now I got to ask you something about that. If the people didn't make a certain wage to drive the bus, okay, and everybody was out bidding each other till it got to almost minimum wage, how are they going to pay the employees? Because you know that you got to pay $30 on every $100 you make in California just to run the business.
Again, the legislature. Right.
I have a cleaning business. I pay $30 for every $100 just on the cleaning business, so I know that it must be extremely high for a bus driver.
But here's the deal. These are our buses. This is public schools. We've already paid for these buses. The people driving these are public.
Oh, so you're talking about just the driver?
The yellow buses that we have, we paid for those. They're sitting.
So they're not owned by a company?
No. The buses are ours.
Then why don't the school district just hire drivers?
That's what I'm saying. Because they say they don't have enough to pay the union wage for the drivers. So they just mothball the fleets and we just have our kids walk to school. What I'm saying is it's solvable. If the state legislature rewrites the rules of how buses work, we can get the buses rolling again.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up.
But see, nobody talks about this because it's almost like a holy thing. When we make a law, we can't change it. Because you can't, why? If our kids are walking to school, let's solve the problem.
So is it a thing of, I got to ask this now, because, you can't leave me hanging like that. So is it a thing of protecting the union, or, because I can understand that people want to protect a job rate pay. I can understand that. Or is a job, I can't even get this out right.
Let me ask you this.
Is it about, okay, I think what's going on, they said, okay, the drivers were making $18 an hour. So they don't want to scale the drivers back to $8 an hour with no benefits.
Not 8, let's say 15. But here's what I was going to tell you.
Okay.
How many drivers right now that the buses aren't driving are getting a paycheck? None.
But let me ask you something.
So instead of getting 15 an hour, because they were holding out for 18, they're now getting none. How does that make sense?
And no benefits.
So the bus drivers are out of jobs too. I'm not against union jobs.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, the union negotiates and says, we are not rolling until you give us this much money. But the people who pay for it are the drivers. The drivers don't have it. I've talked to the drivers. They're nice people. But now they're not driving because no bus is rolling.
This is at a stalemate.
So nobody is getting a job.
So nobody, okay. We have to do a part 2.
Okay, we'll do that later.
Because you'll make me go on forever. But you know what? We're going to get this program up and running on Saturday because people need to see it. Thank you for tuning in to On the Couch with Lisa B. Make sure you get out and vote this Tuesday for Jonathan
Zaccaria
of District 6. I didn't want to mess up his name. You guys know I'm just informal, but I didn't want to mess up his name.
It's the only
and it
name
was
with
a
a Z.
blessing.
Z like Zorro or
Yes, so
a
you
zebra.
can't mess it up.
There you go.
It's right there on the ballot, the only one that has a Z. And I just want to say it was a blessing to be in your
God bless you.
household.
Thank
I was
you.
really relaxed. I could feel the anointing of God here. And you know what? You just be blessed. I'm praying the best for you.
Thank you.
And I'll see you next week.
And don't forget the couch competition.
The couch company, I need one in the studio. God, I got broken leather. Broken green leather that I can't even use on the green. Help me, people.